Are you a frustrated podcaster that is ready to stop hearing crickets and start making money with your show, even if you have a small audience? If you answered yes, then I want to connect with you for a free podcast profit potential discovery call. In this free 20-minute session, I'll analyze where you're currently leaving money on the table when it comes to monetization opportunities for selling more of your own programs, products, and services. If you are a service provider, a coach, or an online program creator looking to use your podcast to generate more sales, the Podcast Profit Potential Discovery Call is for you. Hop on my calendar today by going to www.podcastingbusiness.school. What's up, Pod Pals? It's your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. This is a podcast audit episode. We've got my Pod Pal Aaron from the Budget Effect podcast here live, and we're going to ramp up her show, get some more downloads, make a little bit of money, and I think that we got some potential here. So, Aaron, welcome to the show.
Hi, Adam. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's kick it off with a goal. And that way we got something to work towards here. So let's say you and I are sitting down 6 months from today. Everything's gone really well between now and then. Paint that picture for us. What might that look like?
Well, 6 months from now, I would love to be making money. And if you think about it, I'm a budget podcast, and 6 months from now is January. So I feel like I need to have some kind of good offer to offer, if not before then at least by January.
Yes. Okay. I love this goal. I absolutely love it. I love people that think like me, that think strategically. And I wasn't always this way, but I kind of built that muscle up, I should say. But like the ability and content creation and online business offerings, if you can forecast out 6 months ahead and go, I think this is an important time. Like January, if you're in budgeting, finance, investing, or weight loss / fitness, January is super important, and
Right.
There is a wave of momentum to potentially ride. So I really love and applaud the fact that you're planning ahead, and we can but let's get a game plan for this. Not only offer wise, but list building wise, and content wise, we can kind of ramp up into that. And we've got a solid 6+ month window to do a little bit of experimentation and create an awesome offer for this launch period. Do you feel like there's any major roadblock that's holding you back from being able to accomplish that right now?
Yeah, I think I have two. My first one would be I haven't worked with people yet. I haven't connected with people. I talked to one person on my Instagram one time, and that's about it. So that's number one. And then number two is my messaging or branding, ideal listener. I don't think I'm completely clear on that. And can I be brief and just kind of give you some background on that?
Yeah.
So I started podcasting 14 months ago, and it was called the Soul Mother Podcast. Embarrassing name. I do not like that name. It was basically tips for how to move forward as a single mom. That's what I should have named it. If I would have known you, Adam, that's what I would have named it. So about 6 months ago, I decided to do the rebrand to the Budget Effect podcast. And really because I don't know, I just kind of felt unfocused. I was focusing on too much with how to move forward. So we talked about self-care and systems and stability. And I wanted to really just focus in on one thing. So I picked stability, which is getting your budget in line. Because when you budget, this is what I tell people, when you budget, you have to figure out your core values. You have to figure out what's important to you. You have to figure out your priorities and what you really want. And so we talk about all of that on the podcast. And then you start living more intentionally. That's the budget effect. And then you that moves you forward as a single mom because you have that confidence, you have the stability. And so I really I'm still talking about self-care and systems, but I just really focused it on the budget is the lever that gets you started. Plus, I felt like if I was going to put out an offer, I can teach people how to budget. So I'm not giving people too much financial advice. It's more getting it systemized in your life and in your home so that you can move forward. And I also do I want to talk to just single moms? Do I want to talk to busy moms? I kind of have some go back and forth between those things. Like I actually had it titled, like my title extension said, well, I'll read it. It said for busy moms. Now I change it to single moms. So I kind of go back and forth. So
yeah, well, I want to applaud you about your title extension. It's really good. So the full name of the show is the budget of it's. You got it listed as budget effect because we don't want to put the word "the" as the initial word. So good job there. And then the title extension, household finance and money tips for single moms. I really love it. I know exactly what it's about, who it's for, and I like the keywords.
But actually, that's in my podcast art. My title extension that I have on the title is how to save money, pay off debt, improve your mindset, and love your life as a single mom. So like my podcast art says busy mom, my title extension says single mom.
Yeah. I think you're hitting all the different angles. I mean, I'm normally on podcast audits, we got to spend 15 minutes talking about names. I'm not worried about that with your show. I feel like we're good. I feel like you're fishing in the right waters for all that stuff. And the nice thing about a title extension is that you can change it whenever you want and no one will even notice. I've changed mine 3 times and people listen to my show. Nobody's like, hey, you used the word entrepreneur instead of business builder or whatever. So it's not that big of a deal. So, that's something to kind of set in place. Let it sit and marinate for 90 days. Let's see what the result looks like. Maybe tweak a couple things. Or as you get to know, you start to sell a few offers and you kind of build that ideal client avatar even a little bit deeper. And you're like, oh, these people, they are single moms or they are busy moms, or you got to get down there on the ground in the trenches and work with some people and see how they describe themselves. And that way you can dial it in. But I like how a lot of the puzzle pieces are just falling into place here. You're in the budgeting space. So the plus of that is you are in the save money / make money category. It's easier to make money in that category, make meaningful income than it is in the personal development or like life coach or even health and weight loss space. People will invest more in save money, make money than they will in their own health, which is kind of weird, but it's 100% fact. Like the stats are there, even with my own. That's why I made the leap from having a weight loss podcast to having a business podcast, because it's like 20x the return as far as like coaching and stuff like that. So you're in a good spot, but the budget people are frugal. The budget people are budgeting for a reason. That they are, I got to save some money. I got to get out of debt. So we have to keep that in mind. But the cool thing about this crowd is that there is a lot of potential for that next upgrade offer after the initial, when you help them get out of trouble, you help them, things are going correctly. Down the road, there's potential for something else that sits on the other side of that. That's more of like a leveled up mastermind, or maybe you start teaching these people how to build online businesses or launch podcasts, or you're gaining all this experience. So that's, down the road a little bit. But I think right now, when you're in the budget space, to make meaningful income, you're going to need to look at small group, because that also works in this space, like having that synergy of 10 or 15 people, and you're all doing this 6-week program or boot camp or whatever together at the same time, sharing ideas. And that way you can still charge enough, but not too much for the budget crowd, and still make meaningful income. So if it's like a 6-week boot camp and you're charging $500 or $700 or something like that, and you get 10 people in there, you're like, all right, I just made $7,000. That's awesome. And like, that's meaningful income. Whereas it's going to be a little bit harder with the one-on-one coaching and that budget crowd, because I want you to be able to charge what you're worth. So in a one-on-one coaching thing, like we're looking at like 50, I always challenge my people that go through my signature program. I'm like, we need to come up with an offer that you can charge $1,500 minimum for. And if we can't do that, then we got to go group and figure that out. So is that all making sense so far, Erin?
Yes, very much.
Okay. So I'm thinking January are a good goal, like have some sort of viable small groupish boot camp challenge, paid offer, cohort, whatever. Between now and then, we got to figure out the really hot button pain point of like, so we don't want it to be the fix everything all at once type of a program, because that's going to be hard, but like really pinpoint offers of we're going to get your butt in gear with getting out of debt, or budgeting basics, or the difference between having a significant other / spouse and not, and like why, really leaning into that single mom crowd of why it's different and how you need to think about this through a different lens. So I think between now and then, I would experiment with content and go, okay, I'm kind of putting fishing lines in the water. Let's see which content really, if there's one that really perks up the earbuds more than other, or doing some free challenges, or even putting some polls out into your email list, social media world, and try to kind of hunt around a little bit. You're getting a smile, you're getting a sly look in your eyes there. So any ideas already percolating there?
Well, yes. First of all, I have 2 people on my email list and 50 followers on Instagram.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that I could have said that for an obstacle, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I actually just put out my first lead magnet last week.
Good.
So, um, like, what do you mean by fishing with content? So I kind of started. Okay, so I have the budgeting podcast, but I started to like put some other things that were more mindset for a single mom episodes to see what would happen. And they actually had less downloads, but I got more follows. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean fishing for content?
I think exactly what you just said. Like, we got to just put different angles out there and go, okay, here's more of a mindset type of a thing, and more of a self-care, self-love type of a thing. And here's more of just a straight up budget numbers. And here's a tax prep episode, and then here's a get out of credit card debt episode, and just put those, kind of fan those out, because they all apply. And then we go, okay, what's really connecting, and kind of work from there. Because then the next step would be some sort of a free challenge. Like, it's a very simple one to build your email list, get engagement, and go, okay.
Right. And that is my lead magnet that I just put out. It's like a free challenge, the 4 foundations you need to have before you start budgeting. And then my idea was, after people complete that, then I kind of offer a free, all right, well, let me help you set it up for free. Yep. That could be a podcast coaching thing.
Yes.
But then out of there, my offer would be like, all right, now let's do this throughout the month together. Yeah. Like you said, the small group thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're thinking on the same track here. So I think we go from lead magnet. I love the fact that you're kind of leading into like a coaching style episode. That was my next point. I'm like, you got to be doing these, and you got to be fishing for those too, and bringing them in, because what I see happening is they listen to your show, they do the lead magnet, maybe not. They hear about the coaching style episode in some way. We're bringing single moms on. You show that off. You're building relationships there. One of my little like suggestions that as a follow-up, or something that I would put out to them, is go, hey, I appreciate you coming on the show and doing this. I'm working on this beta group for my blah, blah, blah single mom budget boot camp. It's going to be 6 weeks, whatever. You kind of like, I'm going to do a test group, a beta group in October, like pre-January. Do you have any interest in this? Can I send you some information? I think you'd be a really good fit. Only if they would actually be a good fit. Like, this is a great connector thing. It's a very soft sale thing. It's not a big high pressure, and you just kind of float that out there. If they say yes, and you kind of keep them on the waiting zone. And I would say if you get like 5 people that say yes, round them up and do a beta group. And then that way you can test it, run them through it this fall, and get testimonials for the big. And it's kind of proof of concept. It feels good. They paid a certain amount, in beta groups. I usually charge 25 to 50% of what I would normally, and it's usually a little bit smaller group. So normally if it's going to be $1,000 and 10 people, I'll charge 500 and only take 5 people. And just building those relationships one at a time, you'll be surprised at how effectively that works to get conversions from listeners to active listeners, where they participate with you on the show, into actual clients. So any reservations, or like, I'm not sure if I can pull this off, type of thoughts from that concept?
Well, 2, I know you've talked about it before, but like where it's a sensitive, like people talking about their money is kind of a sensitive subject. So that's 1. And then the second one is Well, because I am a single mom and I do work full time. So like I do my podcast and all this stuff from 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. every day. And so just how to work that out with actually connecting with people.
Yeah. So I think the first point of them being a little nervous about talking about, certain financial aspects, that you got to lay it out there where the topic of the coaching style episode is kind of superficial, and they can kind of choose their own adventure. If they want to go deeper, they can take it there. But like, is it a budgeting basics for single moms, or it's like just like real simple, like, or maybe sometimes in this type of content, if you can kind of be like the radar detector for, ooh, this is where you're bleeding. This is where your budget is bleeding right here. Let's focus on that. Like, what's your grocery bill every single month? Oh my God, it's $2,000. Let's dig in there. So it's not like a big intense, I can't pay for my kids' college, or like these like emotional things. It's just like, you're kind of like the detective.
Right. I thought about, sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, it's just like, you're the detective. You haven't felt some information ahead of time, and you can kind of handpick, like, that's the zone, the grocery bill, or the shoes bill, or the daycare is too expensive, or whatever. And you kind of just, because there's gonna be huge value in that. If you can call that out and go, hey, I think this is really where there's savings potential, and have a conversation about that, I think it'll be interesting and high value.
Yeah. You have your podcast audit. I thought, well, I could do a spending audit. Like, let's bring up your Amazon cart. Let's see what you've bought on Amazon in the last year.
Yeah.
That'd be fun and funny, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. And keep it first name, and you don't, I would do videos. I like to just connect with people and see them, but if they don't want to do video, they don't have to. And you're not going to be like, and this is Aaron from blah, 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 Idaho, or whatever. Like this, like, you don't have to like really make it personal to them, or as far as like shout them out. You're not gonna tag them on social media, but like, I think that there's gonna be value in that, especially when you start releasing these and people are listening going, oh my God, you just saved that lady $400 a month. That's almost $5,000 a year that Aaron just paid that person, basically by adjusting her budget and showing her a different way to do it. I love that. And really, I would be like, the single mom budget audit, or like, put the word single mom in there. Let's lean into that, because there are millions of single moms that could potentially be your audience. So I think
15 million in America.
Yeah,
I looked it up.
There we go. Yeah. Let's lean into that 15 million. Let's get our piece of the pie of the single mom market. So I wouldn't be afraid of that at all. Like, when somebody sees your show and listens to your show and they hear the verbiage they use to describe themselves, they'll connect with you. And all of a sudden, there are a lot of budgeting podcasts out there, and a lot of, in that genre. But if you can be the one for single moms, and you are a single mom walking the walk and talking the talk, there's going to be an immediate, like, oh, people's champion. Like, she's in the trenches. She's one of us. I like that. I think that's how we compete with bigger podcasts and bigger brands.
Okay. Do you have any, like where you classify yourself? Like, I'm not in the finance section. I'm in the how-to. Does that matter?
Oh, as far as like your podcast category. All right.
Yes.
So when it comes to your podcast category, the main thing that I've seen it impact is where we can potentially get ranked on like Apple or Spotify. So like in Libsyn, you have 2 slots where you can pick 2 different categories to be listed. So if you have multiple opportunities to pick categories in your podcast host, whatever the first one is the one you're most likely to get ranked in. So think about that. It should be a subcategory. So if you're in how-to, it should be like, is that under education? So
yeah, I think
so. It's like education how-to. I've listed my show in that category as well, and you can change it around too. It doesn't affect anything in a negative way. But you could list it in finance or whatever, and try that, and try switching which one you list first. Mainly, it impacts the rankings of what you're most likely to get ranked in, but also on certain podcast player app platforms, they will only let you advertise in those categories. Overcast FM isn't like that. You can advertise in any category, but there are other ones that like you can only advertise if you're a marketing show. You can only advertise in business. And that's it. So that's something you can play around with and tweak and test and kind of keep that in mind. But yeah, I would test it. That's another one of those things like a title extension. You could let it run for 90 days, see how things are going, experiment, keep notes, and let's see how, that's something that I've been known to switch mine up every 90 days or so, just to kind of see if we can market to a new audience, show up in a new ranking for some reason. You have an episode that goes crazy and okay, it's showing up in the entrepreneurship category or something like that. But yeah, I think that you're thinking about the right sorts of things. So with the coaching episode specifically, like how comfortable, I feel like this could be a real winner for you. But sometimes people are nervous about going out and making this happen. I want to kind of get a gauge of where you're at. I'm like, I totally got this. It makes 100% sense. Or I'm like a little bit nervous about this, or no way I'm doing this.
I think for me, I'm not nervous to talk with people. I'm not nervous to kind of fly by the seat of my pants in a coaching episode, but I just like the logistics of how it's going to happen from step to step. That's what's going to be tough.
Okay. So so I wanted to make sure we went back to cover that because you got the schedule that we're working with. So
right. I am a teacher, so I have all summer now. This is my first day of summer break right now.
Okay. So that's nice. So great info. I mean, I would try to hunker down this summer and go, I think this is a 20-minute or less episode. And I think it's like the sweet spot for this type of episode will be 15 to 20 minutes. And that way and you can market it like, listen, single moms ain't got time. This is gonna be 15 to 20 minutes. I'm gonna diagnose where your budget is bleeding. We're gonna patch it up, get you going in the right direction, and send you off with momentum. And you get to be a part of the show, and it's super cool content. Like that's how I would kind of throw it out there. But I would try to push this summer and go, I'm going to do as many of these as I can, and then I'm going to start releasing them as episodes. And just you don't have to be in a cadence like I am, where it's like every Friday podcast audit. Like these, you get 14 of these things, or 9 or 4 or whatever. You just release them as episodes as you get them. Put them out and be like, it doesn't have to be every other week is an audit, or every 3 weeks, or whatever. Now, the more of them you do get in your RSS feed, it will be magical for your brand and for just making connections. Let's say you do 10 of them and 3 of the 10 are interested in your beta group. Okay. Now I got to do another 10, get another 3. I got 6 people in the beta group. I can launch a beta group. So it's kind of like that volume, engaging interest, but also talking to them like, hey, this is what we're going to do in this free challenge. Or, I hit up people that do podcast audits with me all the time. I'm like, I got this idea. And that's how I created this new certification that I'm doing and all this stuff. Cause I'm like, what do you really think about this? Like off air, we have interesting conversations. I start picking your brain. I turn the tables, but it's a unique experience to pull your ideal listener / ideal client and sit down with them one-on-one for a certain amount of time, add value, but able to, connect further past that. So I think I would take advantage of the time now. I would start, if you can just pull a few people in, if you know some single moms, or if you're in like single mom Facebook groups or something like that, go in there and go, listen, I've got a show. It's called this. I'm looking for single moms to bring on the show and like create content with me.
Okay. I can do that. As far as like doing a CTA for that on my show, seeing that we are on like a time constraint of the summer, like I said, I just launched my lead magnet freebie. So now I want that, I follow your advice. Yeah. Do this for several weeks. Like, should I still do that and then go to the CTA for a spending audit or whatever? Or what would you say about that?
I would go at least 4 episodes on that lead magnet, and then maybe toss 2 audit CTAs, see how the response is, and then go back, switch back, and kind of make a call like, okay, let's keep cooking with the audit. That brought a lot of people in. Or if the lead magnet was working really good, then kind of go back to that, and maybe you go a little 4-week runs back and forth. I think that'll be fine. You've got, it's the CTA thing is newer to your brand, but I I think you could cook if you go on Threads or Instagram or in a Facebook group that's single mom and just go, hey, I've got a show. I'm looking to create a special content episode where I bring you on. It's respectful, it's private, first names only. But I'm a single mom and I want to help tell stories of single moms, but I want to help you most importantly. And if I help you, you represent my ideal listener, and we're going to help a lot of single moms out there as the show starts to spread. You know, that's the whole purpose of these podcast audits is you represent my ideal listener. And they're people that are in the same space as you, or like not the same like niche. I mean, maybe there's somebody out there in the budgeting space, but the same experience level, same ideas, running up into the same pain points. And your questions in this conversation is exactly what they need to hear. And it's going to help them get it done. So that's the way I look at it. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
All right, let's shout out your brand, your website, social media. I mean, okay. If somebody's out there and you're like, I'm a single mom, my budget is out of whack, I really want you to reach out to Erin and hook a podcasting sister up and go on her show and get a freaking budget audit and let her help you out. So that's my ask for today's episode. Erin, take it away.
All right. So it's The Budget Effect on your favorite podcast app. You can email me at hello@thebudgeteffect.com. And my Instagram is Budget Effect Podcast.
All right. Budget Effect Podcast. Go and support our friend Erin. And if you all want to come on the show and do a podcast audit, just like Erin has done here today, then head on over to the website, www.podcastingbusiness.school. Click on the freebie button. You'll see it. Podcast audit. Hop on my schedule before all the spots get gobbled up. Pod pals, I appreciate you. And I'm going to send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you next time. Attention all coaches, service providers, and online program creators. You are probably leaving money on the table when it comes to your podcasting business, and I'm going to help you uncover those missed opportunities. Get signed up for a free podcast profit potential discovery call today by going to www.podcastingbusiness.school. That's podcastingbusiness.school.